Hi, this is Dennis with Cyberkraft, and I want to thank you very much for your service if you're watching this as a military veteran. I want to do a special video today focused on military veterans, a subject near and dear to my heart. I'm a Army veteran myself, and most of my instructors are military veterans. So in honor of Veterans Day, I want to thank you for your service if you're a military veteran and provide some information that veterans and current service members can use to help them transition into cybersecurity. A lot of veterans don't realize the types of jobs that they can qualify for with their military background, and they don't realize that a lot of what they did in the military is valued, and those skills are valued in civilian cybersecurity jobs. So I want to talk to you about that. I wrote an article here today, a little guide that shows you which MOSs, military occupational specialties, so basically a job within the military, whether it's the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, or Coast Guard, or Space Force, that transitions, or basically that job title is an MOS. So there's multiple MOSs that can qualify, and I want to go over some of those today that we have here. So basically, within the Army, and one thing I want to say is these MOSs don't necessarily need to mean that you did cybersecurity in the military. The cybersecurity, you could be doing something related to cybersecurity, or maybe just IT, or something like intelligence, or doing inspections, military, police, physical security. There's lots of different job roles that are adjacent to cyber that do help and qualify you and count as experience in a cybersecurity position. Because in the civilian world, cybersecurity encompasses not only the technical security, but it also encompasses risk management, physical security, inspections, auditing, and a lot of that is kind of rolled up into these various military jobs. Oftentimes you're wearing a bunch of different hats in the military, and that can lead you to provide you with skills that you may not have thought have had any bearing on cybersecurity. So I want to talk to you about some of these MOSs. So here's some of the MOSs, and you'll see here the 25 series. We'll start with the Army. The 25 series is really where you find your signal specialists, your signal officers, NCOs, and soldiers. So those directly relate to IT and cyber. So if you are or have been a signal operator in any capacity, then you definitely have the skills, and you should write those on your resume as cybersecurity and IT skills when you're applying for civilian jobs. Those are direct comparisons. Now, we also want to take a look at the 17 series, Cyber Operations Specialties. That's a clear, direct path. There's also aviation operations. If you worked in aviation operations, or if you were a radio tech operator, you worked in an operations center, especially if you did that while you were deployed, you were in an operations center, then that directly translates. You would have to, those skills are very similar to what you would use in a security operations center within cybersecurity. You would have to respond to incidents, and basically you're doing some form of incident response. You're responding to requests and crises, and then you're providing information, communicating that information in a timely manner. So that's one area that a lot of people don't think of. Also, air defense communication, satellite communication. A lot of these communication fields, or even if you're a radio operator, those can all have really good skill sets that correspond with cybersecurity roles. Also, the 35 series. 35 series being intelligence. If you were in intelligence within the military, within the Army, intelligence officers are responsible for protecting classified information, performing background checks, and securing physical security, which is a major aspect of cybersecurity. So if you were in a 35 series in any capacity, that directly relates to cybersecurity. I was an intelligence officer myself when I served in the Army, and those skills I use quite a bit in cybersecurity. Protecting classified information, understanding physical security, how to secure systems, how to secure buildings. That's very, of course, we're not putting up machine gun nests to protect Cyberkraft assets, but it's a similar skill set. It's a similar skill set to understand entry points, access control is all handled usually by the intelligence officers and the intelligence soldiers. Now within the Marines, job titles usually start with MCE. You have MC 06892862, Information Assurance Technicians, Maintenance Technicians, Tactical Data Systems Technicians. A lot of your technician roles can relate to cybersecurity. I'm not as familiar with the Marine specialties, but I do know that these roles directly translate. Tactical Data Systems, Magnetic Spectrum Manager, Optical Ordnance Repair. So a lot of these technical roles that require you to work with highly advanced systems and then communicate how those systems operate and how those systems work. Those roles directly relate to cyber, and cybersecurity, you're doing something very similar. You're working with highly technical systems and you're communicating to key stakeholders, also to users, to many different people within your organization, how these systems work and how they can be utilized. So those are very important job fields that do relate directly to cyber. The Navy has lots of different technical positions. You have information warfare, information systems technicians, information professional officers. A lot of these correspond to these positions. Intelligence, cryptography, cryptology, meteorology, oceanography. These are all very helpful. And again, aviations. If you're working with any aviation system within naval aviation, whether those are electronics or even maintenance, those technical systems, you're working with basically a form of technical system, a network of technical systems. You can translate that within the civilian world to cyber. Of course, cryptological technicians and any cryptology role directly relates to the cyber. A lot of these same algorithms you're going to see in the civilian sector that you saw in your military service. And then different personnel specialists, for example, intelligence. Of course, any intelligence role with any of the service branches is going to relate to cybersecurity as well. And those aviation equipment technicians, aviation technicians, those are also very relatable. Again, I'm not as familiar with Navy or Marines or Air Force as I am with Army. I was in the Army, but I do know that those job titles have a lot of overlap. Now, within the Air Force, you have a lot of cyber roles, and then you have your computer systems roles. Any of those cyber or computer system roles are direct relations. Also, your intelligence roles and things like biomedical equipment or fusion analysts. A biomedical equipment specialist works with medical equipment, okay? And a lot of times you can translate this into a job working with a medical provider, a hospital. Hospitals need cybersecurity professionals. Oftentimes hospitals are attacked with ransomware. They're targets of malicious activity and they're the targets of hackers. So you can translate what you did securing biomedical equipment in the Air Force, for example, to a civilian job. Now within the Coast Guard, we have these Coast Guard roles. Information systems, any information systems role is a good candidate to qualify directly into IT and cybersecurity fields. Electronics, operation systems, and then also some you might not think, like marine science technician. You are working with highly sensitive systems, but those systems can relate. Again, you need to speak on your resume of the skills that you've learned and the skills that you've worked with in the military. So oftentimes in the military, you are called upon to sign for equipment. You're called to safeguard equipment. When you put this on your resume, you need to mention that you were in charge for the security of that equipment. You should mention the dollar amount that you were responsible for. Oftentimes this equipment is very expensive. If you're signed for that equipment, you're responsible for that equipment and you were safeguarding X hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars worth of equipment, depending on the cost of that equipment. But oftentimes military equipment is pretty expensive. So that is a direct way that shows that you have responsibility and that you can undertake risk management types of roles. So if you have any questions, if you're not sure if your role or your MOS qualifies or relates to cybersecurity, please reach out, leave a comment, email info@cyberkrafttraining.com. Be happy to help you. I'm always willing to help fellow veterans. And if you're going into cybersecurity, I recommend getting a professional certification. There's a lot of benefits for veterans to help pay for those certifications, of course. If you don't yet, I would recommend getting your Security Plus certification. If you have a lot of years of experience in the military, you could even do something like go for a CISSP or CISM certification. Let me pull up the CISSP job requirements. The CISSP requires, and most people don't understand this about the CISSP, but it requires 5 or more years of experience. Most people understand that, but it requires 5 more years of experience in 2 of the 8 domains. So here's the domains of the CISSP. Now, most of the time, people think, okay, CISSP is a cybersecurity certification. That means I can't get it if I don't have that 5 more years of experience in cybersecurity. That's not what the CISSP requirements ask you for. They're asking you for years of experience in 2 of these 8 domains. Now, if you're within the military and you were signed for equipment, you were responsible for asset security. You had directly use that skill set. Okay, security and risk management is viable for nearly any position within the military. Oftentimes, you're called upon to create risk assessments or to assess risks of certain operations, even mundane activities like going for a march. Sometimes come with a corresponding risk assessment. So there's a lot of overlap there, and you can make the case that your military role exposes you to these skill sets. Security operations, if you work within an S3 shop within the Army or an S2 shop, then you can, or an S6 shop, of course, then you can definitely show or demonstrate experience within operations. And if you work in the S6 shop or even the S2 shop within the Army, the intelligence or the technical shop, the IT shop, basically, then you can show that you have experience with identity access management because you'd be responsible for creating roles, assigning permissions, assigning access to certain information, which is exactly what IAM is. So if you do have 5 more years of service within the military, I do recommend getting something, going out on a limb and trying to get something like a CISSP, because a CISSP will definitely get you hired. Now, CISSP is a very difficult exam, but if you work hard and you study all the concepts, you can pass that exam, even if you don't have the technical experience. It's not a technical certification. You don't have to do any hands-on activities or technical questions, performance-based questions like you would with a CompTIA certification. Of course, you can always start with the Security Plus, which leads right into the CISSP. And what I did when I came out of the military, I went Security Plus to CISSP. That's how I got hired right away within a month of earning my CISSP. So that's the route I took, and that's part of the reason why I started Cyberkraft, because this system worked for me. Cybersecurity certifications worked for me, helped me transition into the cybersecurity career field. Then I served as a contractor with the federal government for over a decade. So I believe in the power of these certifications. I think they're very helpful. It's the best way for someone within the military to transition to a high-paying civilian job in cybersecurity. And there's plenty of opportunities in cybersecurity. The career field is constantly growing. So I do think it's a great way to break into the field. And I do hope you take advantage of it. If you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Now, we have programs on CISSP. We have programs on Security Plus. We have self-paced and instructor-led classes. Whatever you need to get certified, we're here for you. And if you want to reach out, talk to a fellow vet, I'd be happy to talk with you, walk you through the process, or explain how you can do this. Whether you sign up with us or not, I'm here to help you guys, you fellow veterans and the veteran community. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Even if you're not a veteran, hopefully this was kind of insightful for you. But I do appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for our military veterans who watch the channel. Thank you for your service. And I hope you have a wonderful day today. Thank you so much.